We are at the halfway point of the 2024-25 ACC basketball season. Time for us right here on Timeout to go to the coach and to the scribe and get the top 6 players in the ACC at the midway point of the season. Mike Waddell, Kerry Keating, and the legend David Glenn with you here on the North Carolina Sports Network. And because you're new, Kerry, we're going to give you the first pick in this, make-believe draft of the top 6 players in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Who you got to go with at number 1, bud?
Well, this is a tough one. It's hard when you're the rookie. You get the first pick in the fantasy draft. You don't want to screw it up, right? You want to take the guy that's going to get the most out of it. But I guess I'll have to go with Cooper Flagg if you're really going to press me for it. Obviously, a guy that not only deserves a mention in this league, but is slowly putting himself in the position to potentially be the National Player of the Year. I think what we saw in this Notre Dame game is a microcosm of exactly what we can see from him throughout the entire season. He just packages it up into one game. Micah Shrewsbury trying to change the defenses up, giving them different looks, maybe even to the point where we'll let other guys beat us. And even when other guys were beating us, he was coming in with the 7 assists. I mean, so impressive to me to have a 42-point game as a freshman while only missing a handful of shots, not taking a high volume of threes, getting to the free throw line at 17 tries for 16 makes. But the 7 assists really stand out to me. And that says enough to me for the player that Cooper can be. And this was the first time that he hit 4 threes, let alone 3 threes in a game where he was facing that scrutiny, if you will, which is easy to do nowadays, that he's not really a shooter. Maybe that's the one knock on a guy that's going to be picked number 1 or 2 in the draft. Kudos to Cooper and obviously John and his staff. And it'd be really, really interesting to see what the rest of the league can come up with to try to slow him down as we head into the postseason coming up here shortly.
David Glenn, you have the second pick in our mid-season All-ACC team.
Yeah, this is one of those years where it really hurts to lose the coin flip because the Cooper Flagg selection would have been mine and everybody else's as well, obviously. And I want to remind fans, when we pick All-ACC, we're not forecasting professional futures. We're having fun with this, and Mike has structured it as a draft. But if Coach or I were projecting NBA status, this list would be a lot different. I have voted on the official All-ACC teams dozens of times over the years. So just a quick reminder, this is who's helping their college team the most this year. Not a career achievement award, not an NBA forecast. Who deserves credit for what they've accomplished in this first half of the season? So my next pick is going to be Louisville's starting point guard. We raved about Pat Kelsey, the head coach of the Cardinals, earlier. We raved about the team's performance. And to me, that team's performance on the court starts with Chucky Hepburn. Big Ten fans might remember him as a really smart, really hardworking, really reliable player for the Wisconsin Badgers. It's not easy to start as a freshman in major college basketball. Hepburn did it. He was a 3-year starter at Wisconsin, but not really a superstar. Pat Kelsey's system, and Chucky Hepburn's teammates have brought out the best in him. He is averaging a career best 15 points per game. He leads the ACC in steals and is a big part of Louisville's defense. He's top 5 in the ACC as a distributor with about 6 assists per game. So he's keeping all those other transfers happy by being an unselfish distributor, even while averaging 15 points per game. He has about a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, which is exactly what you need, if not better. He gets to the free throw line a ton. As Coach mentioned earlier, in big games, it's a sign of maturity if you get to the line a lot. Chucky Hepburn does it all the time, and when he gets to the line, he hits almost 85%, which obviously is exactly what the coaching staff wants to see. Whether he's at home or on the road, you can't tell. He is absolutely unflappable, has a high basketball IQ. He's really, really poised. You cannot take the basketball away from him. He is that strong defender. And he's absolutely playing the best basketball of his college career at exactly the right time for the Louisville Cardinals. He's a huge reason that I think they're on their way to being an NCAA tournament team.
And the third pick, Coach Keating?
Well, I'm going to go back to the old West Coast roots while I can, since the West Coast teams want to follow me out here in North Carolina and ACC country. and that's 4-year Stanford center Maxim Raynaud. A guy that's leading the conference so far in this early part in points and rebounds. The appreciation I have for a guy like this, David and Mike, is that he's a 4-year player at the same school, which I think is rare enough that if you're in those positions statistically as a 4-year player at the same school, you deserve some merit for even being there, let alone having some success. The big challenge, obviously, for him and his teammates are going to be to see if they can take that long travel. The 2 losses they have on the road, 2 wins back at home. This is something that he's being relied on. He's grown through his 4 years there to statistically improved every year. And now he finds himself in an unbelievable opportunity. He's a foreign player to begin with. Obviously, he's going to have a little bit more of a third eye towards him as far as NBA vision goes. But a guy that can shoot the 3, block shots, obviously rebounds, put the ball in the basket, making the transition for Stanford a little bit easier this year, although not going to be easy at all. And I'm going to go with Maxim Raynaud as the 3rd player on our mid-season all-conference team.
David, who's your 4th pick?
I'm jealous again because I just like the sound of Maxim Raynaud. My second language is French. Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui? And Maxim Raynaud is from Paris, France. Coach got another really good one there. But you can't argue with 21 points a game and 12 rebounds a game. That's what Raynaud's at. If you lead this league in both of those categories, you will end up on the All-ACC first team. So kudos to Coach as usual. My pick's going to be Pitt's point guard, Jaylen Lowe. Coach Jeff Capel has done a really good job of mixing higher profile high school signees with really good major college transfers, which appears to be, one of the magical formulas in modern college basketball. Remember, last year, his star point guard was freshman Bub Carrington, who's now in the NBA with the Washington Wizards. In the same class, he signed Jaylen Lowe. And Jaylen Lowe, good player last year at Pitt as a freshman, outstanding player this year as a sophomore. He is the engine that has made Pitt an NCAA tournament team and a top 5 team in the ACC. He's averaging about 35 minutes per game, which is among the most in the entire ACC. Top 10 in the ACC in scoring, about 17 points per game. Top 3 in the ACC in assists. So again, he's setting the table for his teammates, about 6 assists per game. Also top 5 in steals with a couple per game. That puts him among the league leaders. He also gets to the free throw line a lot. And when he gets there, he hits about 90% from the charity stripe. 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, extremely physically and mentally tough and durable, just the way Jeff Capel was as a Duke guard back in the day. Again, those 2 point guards I've chosen, Hepburn from Louisville, Lowe from Pitt, they're absolutely central to why those 2 teams are as high in the standings as they are, and that's why they're both on my All-ACC first team.
So we have Flagg from Duke, Hepburn from Louisville, Raynaud from Stanford, Lowe from Pitt. We have 2 spots left on our mid-season All-ACC first team. Coach Kerry Keating, who is your 3rd and final addition to the 6th?
We chatted about this in our pre-draft meeting. I actually had a little affinity for the big guys, knowing that Coach Glenn is strictly a point guard coach, which I can appreciate as a head coach because you want to have the coach on the floor. So I can kind of see where David's head's going here. It came to me that as we looked at the standings and looked at just the results in the ACC so far, because obviously at this point in the season, the majority of the games are non-conference, but I wanted just to look at the conference just in general. And a team at 4-1 that's at the top of this conference right now, and we had a discussion about this player, and it just came to me that I think we'd be remiss to not include him on a mid-season all-conference ACC team, is Ian Jackson. And when you go back and look what Ian Jackson has done now think about what Carolina's been. They've played 3 games on the road. Now, I don't care where you're at. This was the whole thing when I was at UCLA, to a lesser extent when I experienced the Gonzaga effect. When you are hypothetically the game, when you go on the road, when they go to SMU, Carolina's coming. When they go to state, obviously it's local, Carolina's coming. Even when you go to Notre Dame, Carolina's coming, right? You're going to get the best shot, not just from the court, but from off the court as well. Those can have profound effects on a freshman, let alone a freshman, as we talked about, with some irrational confidence. Well, I don't want to be too over irrationally confident here. When you look at Ian Jackson putting up 23, 27, and 21 points on road games alone in his first 4 ACC games, I think the fact that Carolina has overcome where RJ has left them short so far, that it does merit some response that Ian Jackson should and probably deserves to be on any mid-season or even early season ACC all-player team.
And finally, our number 6 pick, David, who's going to put a cap on this mid-season all-ACC first team?
Well, it's interesting the way this has worked out because obviously Duke's atop the standings and Coach went with Cooper Flagg with his first pick. Louisville's high in the standings. I took Chucky Hepburn, their point guard. Carolina's high in the standings. Coach just went with Ian Jackson. Pitt is high in the standings. I had Jaylen Lowe earlier. The only high team in the standings that's not represented yet is the Clemson Tigers, and that happens to be my next pick, the star of the Tigers, Chase Hunter. That's another point guard. I know I'm hitting a strong theme here with my 3 picks, but as Coach mentioned, liking Maxim Raynaud as a 4-year player who stayed at the same school for all 4 years, and I share that sentiment personally. Chase Hunter is in his 6th college season, all of them with the Clemson Tigers. Now, that's not why he's an all-ACC pick of mine. I just wanted to point that out as another thing worth admiring about him. But he's become one of the most efficient offensive players in the entire ACC, and he is the number 1 reason. I put Ian Shefflin as the number 2 reason, but Chase Hunter's the number 1 reason that the Clemson Tigers are so high in the ACC standings and have such a strong resume even in their non-conference play. He is sharing the backcourt with the Boston College transfer Jaden Zachary this year, and I think that chemistry is bringing out the best basketball of Chase Hunter's 6 years with the Tigers. He's top 10 in the league in scoring, Hunter, 18 points per game, career best. He is shooting, and not many guards, remember, are better than even 40-ish, 45 sometimes percent from the field. Chase Hunter, as a guard, is over 50% from the field and over 90% from the free throw line. He is also leading the ACC in three-point percentage at 45%. What was that? Coach Keating, Coach Larinaga, and others always used to talk about that. What is it? The 40-50-90 club, I think.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Chase Hunter's living, breathing that incredibly high efficiency production. Not only, 40, 50, 90 plus percent from the free throw line, 45% from 3, 50 plus percent. He's also unselfish. He can pass the ball. He shares those point guard duties, but he's a good assist man as well. He has really, you want to talk about what college basketball used to be all about? Watch Chase Hunter year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you will see something he's better at in each of the 6 years. It's truly a beautiful picture that I think whether you're an old school basketball fan or a modern casual basketball fan, I think it can be appreciated and celebrated. So I've got Chase Hunter. We're going to have plenty of good ball handlers on this all-ACC squad. I've got Chase Hunter of Clemson as my final pick in this fun draft.
This segment brought to you by our great friends at Atlantic Tire and Service, where DG and his family take all of their vehicles for routine maintenance, service needs, and a world-class selection of new tires. Atlantic Tire and Service, your one-stop tire and auto repair provider with highly trained technicians and a sales and support staff that are second to none. They've grown to 6 Triangle area locations, 2 in Raleigh, 2 in Cary, 1 in Durham, and 1 in Wake Forest. You can learn more online at AtlanticTireOnline.com.